Hey everybody. So before we start pulling this thing apart, I'm just going to give you a little background on this. So I purchased this TJ for my wife about a year and a half ago. I didn't know anything about Jeeps, nothing at all. I got this in Orlando. I live in the St. Pete area. I thought this was a cool looking Jeep. I really liked that it was jacked up and it had the big tires on it. I liked the color on it. I really liked that it was kind of pushed out the wheels. They have spacers on them. And the inside wasn't too bad. The frame's pretty solid. There's not any rust on it. The inside wasn't that bad at all. So I said, yeah, this looks great. Let me get this Jeep. I thought I got a really good deal on this Jeep. But after having it for about a year and a half now, I started to realize a little bit about Jeeps. Now this is the 2.4 liter, which makes me think I didn't really get that great of a deal on it because nobody wants a 2.4 liter. Why doesn't anyone want a 2.4 liter? Because driving a jacked up 2.4 liter Jeep is kind of like driving a moped through a swamp pit. And I have the 2.4 liter, which I guess is not that popular, right? So the 2.5 liter seems to be more popular. I don't see a lot of videos with the 2.4 liter. I don't know if it's a weird motor or really what the deal is with that. But when we first got this, I thought, hey, got a good deal. This is great. Then we started having some problems with it. The thermostat was leaking and needed to be replaced. The radiator, the timing belt. And then after that, it was funny. So I get a call from my wife and she says, honey, the car stopped working. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, well, the engine's working, but it's not going anywhere. Well, it turns out when they put the lift kit on here, they didn't do a great job. So I have about a 28-degree angle on that rear drive shaft. And that pinion angle is 12 degrees. So what happened, those U-joints became worn out, and as she was driving, the drive shaft U-joints unclamped from them there. They snapped out of there. The head came off. It hit the concrete. It was still attached to the transfer case rod, and as this was flinging around and hit the concrete, it bent the transfer case rod. And I had to take the transfer case out, rebuild it. I ordered some new parts from eBay that were used. And I was able to put it back together and it didn't drive too bad. Another issue I had with it was the gentleman who had it before me wired up 1,000 things to this, which I have no idea what they are. They're just switches that are empty and die and go to nothing. So it was draining the battery slowly. And wiring looks like it could be a pretty big pain in the ass, considering I was also having to do minor stuff to this all the time. So my wife was always calling me, telling me, hey, something sounds like it's not running right. I'm hearing a noise here or there. So I've had to replace the bearings. It has an oil pan leak currently. You could see it dripping from there. I think it has a rear main seal leak as well. See under here, it's not too bad. The body, the frame. I also think it's leaking oil. I also think it's leaking oil through here. I get some oil seeps through here. I don't know if this matters or not, but this pulley belt here is completely cracked here and starting to get a hairline crack. So I decided I'm going to take this whole Jeep apart. I'm not going to take the body off of the frame, but I am going to pull the motor out. I am going to take the transmission out, the drive shafts. I'm going to take the axles off, and I'm going to basically rebuild this whole Jeep. Now, I've never done this before. I'm pretty handy, and I'm pretty technical, just not in this area. I can do basic stuff. It wasn't too bad rebuilding that transfer case. But we're going to see how big of a job this is going to be. I figure this is going to take a few months. I want to rhino line the inside of the bay. I want to take everything out of the inside of the cabin, all the seats, all this nasty carpet. Every time it rains, this gets all moldy and gross and it smells in here. I want to take all this carpet out. I want to sand this, and I want to rhino line the inside of this. I want to change these seats to make these like a rubber seat, so when it does get wet in here, it doesn't get all nasty and moldy. We could spray it out. I want to sand the outside of this. I want to rhino line this. I'm thinking of putting a new motor in here and a new transmission, so it's a little bit bulkier of a ride. It's very slow with these 33-inch tires and this 2.4 liter motor. Which makes driving it just about as fun as driving my Segway over there. And then I want to go through everything. I want to pull all the parts off. I want to sand them down. I want to paint them. I want to make sure they don't rust, so everything looks good underneath. And a lot of these probably need to be replaced. You know, I don't really know for sure. This looks pretty thin. This looks pretty thin, especially for a Jeep that's jacked up this much on 33s. I'm guessing I can get a little more industrial front end. So I've already started taking apart the motor, which I'll go through with you guys. I have a guide that I downloaded. So the cool part about this is if you go on AutoZone.com and create a free account, they basically have all of the specs for any vehicle you have. So they show the pictures, they have the manuals, they have the specifications for them. And this one kind of gives you a list of everything you need to take out of the motor. So when you're taking the motor out, it gives you a checklist. It goes through everything that needs to happen before you pull it. And luckily I haven't gotten too far, so I'm going to go through a few things with you. So we could probably do this pretty quick. I took the battery out of here. That came out. And then I took the air box. So the air box was right up here, and then it came up through here. Attached to the air box, which was on top of the motor here, was the air intake, and that ran up over here. You'll see it goes right into the engine. I took off the fuel injectors. The fuel line's still on here because I realized even if I take this part off, on the inside of this, there's like these teeth in here. You need a special tool to get those out with. I have that, so we're going to be taking that out. I took the alternator out. You'll see the alternator was right here in these little holes. I disconnected the radiator hoses from the top, and also you'll see down there from the bottom. I disconnected the engine wiring harness, which was only about 11 plugs. And I'll go through that engine wiring harness with you. I took off just the main belt here. And then I just took off the heater plugs, right, that heat the cabin. I also took off the ground bolt and the ground strap, which you'll see in here. Now that was a kind of a pain in the ass, and I'll tell you why. This ground bolt, which I would think would come right out, is stripped. So as I unscrew it, it'll turn, but it won't come out, which makes me wonder, is there a bolt behind there in the cabin that I have to take the dash off for? That wouldn't make much sense to me, but I was able to cut those wires. And then what I've done so far is everything that I take out, I am labeling. So we come over here, and this is the engine wiring harness. As we go through here, I just label each one of these. So I know this goes to the air intake. Here is the intake box here that I took out. Just some hoses. This is the throttle body. This thing, I will say, was a huge pain in the ass to take out, which is the air intake manifold. The bolts were just really hard to get to. You'll see it has these 5 bolts here. Top, bottom, top, bottom, top. Just in a difficult spot to get to. That actually took me half a day to get that out. There's the alternator. So I'm labeling this as I take them out. So next up, what we're going to do is we're going to finish going through this engine removal guide, finish disconnecting some wires, some bolts, some harnesses, and then we're going to pull the motor. Now, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. I am a little concerned because the motor lift, I think only extends to, let's see here, I think it only extends to 85 inches, right? And that's a half a ton, which is fine because this motor only weighs about 350 pounds, or that's a quarter of a ton, I mean. But the problem is it's so high, this Jeep, that I don't think I could pull the engine out of this Jeep either without taking off the front grille or taking the tires off, putting them on stands, and then maybe pulling the engine off from this side. So that's something we're going to figure out together this weekend, but we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. So stay tuned for the next video where we finish going through the engine removal steps, and then we get ready to take this engine out. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, please let me know. I am going to be ripping apart this whole motor. I'm going to be rebuilding everything in here. I really want to see how they work up front. I want to see how to take them apart and put them together. That way, you know, if I ever have any problems in the future, it'll be easy for me to kind of understand the difficulty of it and what needs to happen. So if anyone has any questions, I'm going to be taking apart everything on here. So if you want to see something specific that I haven't got to or I'm not getting to, please let me know and we can walk through it together. This should be a fun adventure because I am learning with you guys. Probably a lot of you guys know more about this than I do, but it should be fun watching me fuck some shit up and hopefully fix some shit. So I'll see you soon.